Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. The Houston Rockets winning a very, very close one this time against the Orlando Magic. The final score 114 to 110. A lot of key players going off and having really, really nice games today. And of course, we'll talk about it. And of course, we always start with the stats and just some key stat lines from today. Christian Wood, the leading scorer, dropping 25 points. Along with 10 rebounds and 3 assists, 9 for 18 from the field, 4 for 9 from three, and a plus 11. So again, a very, very impactful and a really, really nice game for Christian Wood. Kelly Olynyk also continuing his amazing run of form in Houston with 24 points, had 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 9 for 14 from the field, and 2 for 4 from beyond the arc. Kevin Porter Jr. rounding into form after a pretty inefficient and rough start to his Rockets career. Now starting to build some consistency, build some efficiency as well with 22 points on 8 for 15 from the field, 4 for 7 from beyond the arc, which is incredibly impressive, especially considering that he has struggled from beyond the arc early in his Rockets career. Also with 7 assists and 3 rebounds to go with it as well, although he did foul out late in the game. And so that is something that we will have to see, and we will discuss it later on. But as far as players coming off the bench, Armani Brooks, he has continued to really impress in his short time with the Rockets. Dropped 16 points on 5 for 6 from beyond the arc. So that's really nice to see. And Armani Brooks is the first thing that I want to talk about because while Christian Wood, Kelly Olynyk, and Kevin Porter Jr. might have had better games as an individual, I think Armani Brooks doing this well is something that I felt like we need to talk about a little bit more, since this isn't something that we expected. No one really knew what to expect out of Armani Brooks. We knew that he was a really good shooter, but we didn't know how impactful that he was going to be. But the fact that he has come in and been really impactful and really nice for us is really nice to see. And I think he's been a great pickup for us so far.
Yeah, I completely agree. Whenever we had Ben McLemore, I think he was so fit to kind of the D'Antoni offense where he was getting wide open looks from Harden every play. Like, um, Merckx really fits into that role a lot better. And I think he's better for this team because he's younger. He's going to be making a lot less money. And I overall think he's a better system fit.
Yeah, as far as age and the way he's been playing so far, I think he has been a much better fit for us. And you have to keep in mind, this is only he's only played a few games so far for us, and so he still has a lot of room to grow. He's still only 23 years old, and so he still has a lot of room to grow. And the fact that he's been coming in and making an instant impact, really nice to see. And it's just another one of those underrated pickups by Raphael Stone, just finding all of these diamonds in the rough that have been really, really good for us, and add Armani Brooks to that list, and that list is growing and it's getting really long and really impressive. The next key performance from tonight was Christian Wood. He's slowly coming back from that ankle injury, and he's starting to now return to his form the way he was playing before the injury, where I think if he had kept up that pace and hadn't got injured, he would have been an all-star. And of course, that's showing in his performance tonight. Like I said, 25 points on 9 for 18 from the field, 4 for 9 from three, 10 rebounds to boot as well. Christian Wood rounding into form, and I think he is slowly starting to get to the way he was playing before that ankle injury, and it's really nice to see.
Yeah, he's made a lot of progression this season. And even after the injury, he's improved his shot creation, he's improved his defense, he's improved his passing. I think that like how we know how he is right now, I think it's only the surface. Like he's only going to get better, and that's what's really scary about Christian Wood.
Yeah, this is his first season as the main guy on a team. This is his first season as a franchise player. And I think a lot of people were so quick to write Christian Wood off, saying that, oh, he can't, even on the Rockets this season, like, oh, Christian Wood can't be the main guy on a team. Again, he is still coming back off of a pretty serious injury, which had him sidelined for over a month. And he's slowly starting to round back into form. And now we're starting to see the Christian Wood that we saw before the injury, where in that stretch between that mid-January when the Harden trade happened until he got injured, he was playing really, really well. He was really impressing, and he's getting back to that level. And I think he hasn't really, like you said, he is still scratching the surface. He hasn't really reached his full potential on the defensive side of the ball as far as his ability as a playmaker and even his ability as a scorer. I think he can do better. He's averaging around 20, low 20s points per game. I think he can really get to a point where he's averaging 25 to 28 points per game, and once he gets to that point, it's going to be really, really scary for the entire league. Christian Wood, again, another one of those games where he shows us what he's about and the type of talent that he is. Kelly Olynyk tonight continuing to impress. The way that he has meshed with Christian Wood has just been incredible. He has been the perfect fit for Christian Wood in that front court. And I think he has blown away just about everyone's expectations for what he was going to do. And I don't think it would be a stretch to say that the way Kelly Olynyk has been playing in Houston far outplays what Victor Oladipo was doing for us in that stretch of games.
Yeah, Kelly Olynyk has been amazing, and even Avery Bradley, even coming over from the Victor Oladipo trade, Avery Bradley kind of does the same thing that Victor Oladipo does, just kind of as at a lower volume. Obviously, neither of them are amazing, but yeah, I think we won that trade honestly. And Kelly Olynyk, he provides spacing for Kevin Porter Jr. He plays good defense. He's a good playmaker. He fits our system too. Like it's just completely perfect fit.
Yeah, without a doubt, Kelly Olynyk, I think he has been a better fit for us, especially when you have a guy like Kevin Porter Jr., who's one of your franchise guys, and he's not the best shooter. While he did have a good shooting night tonight, we know that he's not the best shooter yet. And so having a guy like Kelly Olynyk, who he is absolute money from downtown so far, and pairing him with a guy like Kevin Porter Jr. is, like you said, a perfect fit. And Kelly Olynyk has been an amazing pickup for us. And I think this is just another move by Rafael Stone, which has just been incredible. Kelly Olynyk, it's not necessarily all about what he does at the stat sheet too. Like he has been playmaking pretty well for a big. You don't really expect your power forward slash center to be playmaking, but here he is, 4 assists tonight as well, which was the third highest in of all the entire game, with behind only Kevin Porter Jr. and seanTate. So again, Kelly Olynyk has been doing what he was asked to do and more. He has been taking on a scoring role. He's been taking on the role defensively. I don't think any of us saw Kelly Olynyk's defensive presence coming. I mean, maybe we knew that, he can space the floor and all of that, but I don't think we expected his playmaking ability and his energy on the defensive side of the ball. His defense has been very underrated, and it's been something that I never saw coming, and I don't think many people saw it coming as well. Kelly Olynyk has been the dream pickup for the Houston Rockets, and continues to do really, really well. And the last main stat, or the main key player performance that I want to talk about, is Kevin Porter Jr. We have highlighted him a little bit here and there earlier in the video, but we're now going to talk specifically about Kevin Porter Jr. Again, like we said, 22.7 assists, 3 rebounds, 8 for 15 from the field. But Kevin Porter Jr. continuing to impress and continuing to grow and develop as a player. And I think this game we're seeing it in his 3-point shooting, 4 for 7 from beyond the arc. And again, it is just one game, an incredibly small sample size. But I think we're starting to see Kevin Porter Jr. develop into a more accurate and deadly beyond the arc shooter. And if he can develop this is going to be an amazing development. It's going to make him take a massive stride in his game.
Yeah, he played very well tonight. There wasn't really many flaws to his game tonight besides the obviously fouling out. Um, Junior, I know he's still young, but I think if he was just a slightly more aggressive on the offensive side instead of trying to constantly play make, I think we could see a substantial rise in his, because I feel like he always wants to shoot the ball at the 3-point line, but he never actually shoots it, and he always just ends up passing it away. And I think this normally results to a high amount of turnovers, which he normally has. But I think small kinks in his game, he's only 20, but I feel like it's just minor things that could happen that can make him a superstar or a star.
Yeah, and I think this game as well, you're seeing that. And I think a lot of it attributes to the fact that he's slowly starting to take into that point guard role. And you see this a lot with new players who are told to play the point guard role. They do take some time to work their way into it. They do first start off a little bit passive when you're trying to slot someone new in at the point guard role. They don't always start super aggressive on the offensive side of the ball. And I think this is something that we're seeing as well with Kevin Porter Jr. He hasn't played a whole lot of games for us. He hasn't really even played a full season for us yet. And so I think he's still taking his time trying to work into the role, because his natural position isn't the point guard. His natural position is the shooting guard. When he was with the Cavaliers last season, that was what he was playing. And so this is his first stint as a point guard for a team. And so I think he's still trying to work himself into that role. And I think that is one of the reasons why he is being so passive. I think as he starts to take his time, starts to work himself into the system, I think we will start to see some more aggressiveness in his willingness to score the ball instead of just passing it up. And I think once he can start to get himself fit, and I think a lot of it is also because of the fact that we have been having so many different lineups, so many people in and out of the lineup, he hasn't been able to find consistency. And that's really key when you have a young player that you're trying to develop like Kevin Porter Jr. I think once we start to get consistency and once he also just starts to play more games, we will start to see his aggressiveness tick up on the offensive side of the ball. And just some main things about the team as a whole. It is, again, we did win, and it is against the Orlando Magic, which, again, they're not the best team either. They are also another one of those teams trying to tank and get a high pick in the draft. And so while this win might not mean a whole lot in the short term, and that, oh, I mean, you only beat the Orlando Magic, I think there is still a lot to take away as a team. This is another one of those games where you can look and see, oh wow, yeah, they shot amazing from three and just all around 51% from the field as a team and 47% from three. And it's not even just in the stats. You can see in the way that they played, they were playing more confidently, they were making shots. And I think a lot of it does attribute to Armani Brooks's 5 for 6. But I think ever since that trade deadline passed, I think our 3 point shooting has really shot up. And that is really nice to see because for a stretch, we were just horrible shooting beyond the arc. We weren't shooting well at all. And I think this is another one of those wins where you can see that improvement in 3 point shooting really take effect. Because I think if we were shooting the way we were before the trade deadline, this isn't a win and it isn't particularly close either.
And I think this game really showed what Steven Silas' offense could really be. I think people have questioned it, because obviously the bad start, but um, the ball movement was amazing this game. Our shooting was amazing. With the right personnel, I think that this team could be really well in the future if we just have the right pieces.
Yeah, and again, this team is far from done as far as getting its core for the future. Again, who knows what we're going to get through the draft? Who knows what we might end up getting in free agency? And so this team is far from done. But again, like you said, this is um, a glimpse of what Steven Silas' system can really be. And a lot of people were quick to criticize Steven Silas for, oh, his system isn't working, or oh, this is, and all of that, and all those criticisms. But I think once you do start to get a consistent lineup, and once you do start to get players that fit in the system is going to work. And that's exactly what's happened. You know, Raphael Stone has traded away or moved pieces that didn't work for our system and got in return players that do, replacing bigs like Justin Patton or people like that with Kelly Olynyk, replacing Ben McLemore with Armani Brooks, replacing Victor Oladipo, who he didn't help our spacing, with a guy who does space the floor in Kelly Olynyk. And the pickups of Olynyk and Armani Brooks, I think, have been very impactful in our uptick in 3 point shooting because both of those guys have been elite from beyond the arc in their time in Houston. And I think now that we're starting to get players that fit more into the Silas system, having a guy with Kevin Porter Jr. with the ability to kick out to knock down shooters now, which he didn't really have earlier in his tenure with the Rockets, I think now we're starting to see how the system can really be. And this is just the beginning. Again, a lot of these guys are young. They still have room to develop. And this is just the beginning, like you said. And it'll be very interesting to see what this team can turn out into. And again, there's not really much more to take away from this game. Again, a very good win for morale. A lot of people were, in the comments and on social media saying, "Oh, why did you guys win?" But you have to realize that you can't win, or sorry, you can't lose every single game because at the end of the day, the players are human, and you do have to win every once in a while for team morale. You could see how in that 20 game losing streak, how much it affected the players' confidence. But if you do get a win every once in a while, it helps the players' confidence, helps the players' morale, and it's good to see glimpses of what this team can be. And it was just a really nice and convincing win, especially eking out a close win like this. We have had problems closing out games in the past, but having a couple of close games turn into wins. We saw a game just a few nights ago, maybe a week or so ago, that the Houston Rockets coming up with a very, very close win, a clutch win against the Dallas Mavericks. We saw that around a 1 week and a half ago. And then now this, proving that we do have that ability to close out close games. And that's really nice to see. And another really good win. And Any final thoughts?
I think moving forward, that I think we should explore the thought of bringing back Kelly Olynyk. It depends on how much he wants in free agency. I think we should not give him what what the Miami Heat gave him. I think we should maybe give him around like $8 million. You know, maybe for the next 2 or 3 seasons. So that way, he can continue to help Kevin Porter progress in the still young stages of his career, and I think that would really benefit going forward.
Yeah, and I do expect him to get interest, especially the way that he has been playing for us. He will get interest in free agency. A lot of teams can use a guy like Kelly Olynyk, who's a stretch big and a very good stretch big at that, as far as his 3 point shooting ability. But if we can bring him back, I think that would be in the best interest of the team. I really like Kelly Olynyk in his fit on the Rockets, and while he isn't on the timeline of us as far as his age, he's 29 years old. He is one of those guys who I think can be a veteran presence for Kevin Porter Jr. Not as far as his mentorship, but just giving Kevin Porter Jr. another weapon to use for the next few years. And I really like what he has brought to this team. And like you said, I completely agree with you saying that we should bring him back. And I think we should bring him back too, and he's just been an amazing fit for us. And another game with the Magic that shows us why he has been so good for us. The next game against the Miami Heat, of course, maybe Kelly Olynyk's revenge game against Miami. But yeah, we will, of course, watch that game and we will cover that as well. But yeah, that's it. I would like to thank our special guest today, Raphael Stone, Stan Account, for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was very fun.
Yeah, and of course, thank you for watching and make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.